This is for the teachers, especially those teaching social studies. The topic of discussion is how do we mark a social studies paper. Ladies and gentlemen, whether you're a teacher or not, it should be noted that marking children's work is a process that involves judgment by the teacher. There is a reason behind every child's answer, which is why a teacher must prepare well before starting to mark any child's paper. The following steps can be taken by the teacher during that process. 1. Develop a well-thought and rich marking guide. Before you start marking any children's work, make sure you have developed a detailed marking guide with all possible answers or responses that you expect these children to give for every question that appeared in the paper. This is going to make your judgment very easy, since you'll have explored all the options you expect children to think of before you actually start marking their responses. 2 is read carefully and understand what the question requires of the learners. It is very, very possible for children to misfire or to misunderstand the questions and give responses that do not match with what the question wants. But the same requirement is needed from the teacher. It's very important as a teacher you first read and understand the question, get to know what it actually calls for from the respondents before you start developing the marking guide which you are going to use while marking these children's responses. Number 3, read it through carefully the child's responses from the first word to the last word to ascertain whether it is the correct answer that is needed or not. It is very important that you as a teacher take time, read it through and analyze the child's response before you decide whether it's correct or it's wrong. If we don't read carefully the children's responses, then we shall not judge their responses fairly. We shall realize that at the end of the day, they are children who will come complaining that their answers were marked wrong when in actual sense they appear even in your marking guide. So before you mark the child's response right or wrong, make sure you read it through the child's answer from the first word to the last word of their response before you put a red pen. The other thing is, as you mark, number 4, pay attention to the spellings, especially for proper nouns. Proper nouns are names of people, are names of features, are names of places. Usually these ones must be written with their correct spellings before you mark this child's response, correct or wrong. If the child messes up with the spelling of the answer that's required, that's a proper noun, it's a name of a person, it's a name of a feature, it's a name of a place, then we are going to mark that response wrong. The other point is, number 5 is highlight the errors in the child's work with a red pen or ink and mark the whole response wrong. It is not professional if you see a child's response has an error, you correct the error and you mark the response correct. The error must be shown so that the child can learn from this error. And then you go ahead to deny this child a mark, because your work is to judge the child's responses, not to give assistance and then you judge in the favor of the child. Number 6, do not award incomplete answers or hanging statements a mark. For example, a question can be stated one characteristic of equatorial climate, and then the child says it is hot. We know that equatorial regions receive rainfall and sunshine throughout there, so they are hot and wet throughout there. Now, if a child says it is hot and wet, then that means this response is incomplete. What does this mean? It means the child did not give a complete response. The complete response would be, it is hot and wet throughout there. So for hanging statements, we need to mark them wrong. The learners usually make this mistake also when they ask them to compare two things. For example, how was the formation of Mount Elgon different from the formation of Mount Renzori? Mount Renzori is a block mountain formed as a result of faulting, and Mount Elgon is a volcanic mountain that was formed as a result of volcanicity. Now, the child to give a complete statement that shows the comparison between the two mountains in terms of formation, the learner must say Mount Elgon was formed as a result of volcanicity, while Mount Renzori was formed as a result of faulting. Any response short of that should be marked wrong because it will be a hanging statement. Number 7, recognize unanswered questions with a dash or line in the space provided for the answer. In case there is a question the child has not answered, along the space where this child was supposed to put the answer, you draw a red line across that space to show that you have seen this question was not attempted by the child. Otherwise, if we don't put that kind of mark, then these children, some of them are too crafty that they can, after you have returned their scripts, they can go and fix the answer there and then come and tell you, teacher, you did not mark this. And you have no evidence to show that this child had not answered that response, that question. So it's important to recognize unanswered questions by marking a line through the space for the answers for such questions that were not answered. Then number 8, mark the correct answer with a tick and the wrong answer with a cross. Any error in the answer should be double underlined where the error is. Put a double line where the error is. For example, the child might have written a statement which is correct, but then the spelling is in the word, certain word. So you underline double line where the mistake is and don't give this child a mark. Number 9, mark only the word answers or numbers written in pen or ink, because the instruction says all answers in this paper must be written in blue or black ballpoint pen or ink, and it's only diagrams, the graphs, tape or maps that must be drawn using a pencil. So any answer which the child has written in a pencil should be marked wrong, as long as it's not a diagram, it's not a drawing. They should be marked wrong. And then number 10, also it's important we take note of the language competence of the learner, the grammar and the tense in which was used by this child in answering in relation to the question. For example, if the question says, how did the introduction of new laws lead to the migration of the Boers from the Cape Colony? How did the introduction of new laws lead to the migration of the Boers from the Cape Colony? The best response should be in the past. A child should say something like, it led to loss of independence by the Boers. The Boers lost independence at the Cape, which forced them to migrate to the interior. But if a child says it leads to or it causes, then this child is tense, or the tense in which he or she is giving the response does not match with the tense in which the question was said. So ladies and gentlemen, those are some of the tips we can use or follow when marking children's responses. I hope when we improve the assessment, the quality of our assessment, then the learner's performance is most likely to improve dramatically. I wish you well.